What we see a lot of the law firm owners that we work with complain about is that their staff members cannot keep good track of the critical tasks that need to be completed at different stages inside of the case's progression. Wouldn't it be great that inside of your Clio Manage account, you could deploy an automation so that whenever you update the stage of a particular matter, so let's say in this case, updating it from the discovery meeting to now first draft preparation, that as soon as you do that, the system creates and assigns certain tasks to different staff members inside of your firm dynamically, let's say 3 days from now, 5 days from now, creates calendar events, for example, certain deadlines that need to be completed in this particular stage, and again, assigns them to the correct staff member, sends out emails, and more. Well, this is possible with the Make.com automation platform, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can set it up for your law firm in just a few minutes. Let's get going. Hey there, my name is Martin Kravchenko, and I'm the CTO at Swans, where we help convert law firms into sustainable businesses through operations and technical consulting. In this video, I'm going to show you the Make.com automation that you can deploy on your account to make something like what I showed in the intro possible. I'll walk you step by step through this automation, and also if you want the template, you can grab it down below for free and easily import it into your account. So before we get started, we'll need to make sure that we set up a few initial configurations in our Clio Manage account. And the first thing would be actually to set up the fields, the custom fields that we need. You can find them by going into Settings, then Custom Fields, and create the new custom fields over here. For the purpose of this automation, we really will just need two fields initially, but you can obviously expand upon it and add more. One field that we'll need is the stage, which will determine obviously in which status essentially the matter is at this point in time. And whenever it gets updated, that then will trigger the automation we're going to deploy. And then the second field that we'll need is this automations completed field. If you're just building one automation, that can actually be a checkbox, but considering that we potentially may want to deploy more automation in the future, in this case, it will be a multi-line field where we'll essentially, after each automation runs for a particular matter, we'll put the name of that automation there to ensure that the automation doesn't get triggered again for that particular matter, and we don't get duplicate records. Now, in the case that you have the Clio Manage advanced plan, the highest tier, you will be able to have kind of like a default stage functionality through a Kanban board inside of your matters. In this case, you wouldn't need this custom stage field, but considering that again, a lot of firms wouldn't have that, for this particular example, I'm using a custom field instead. So, all right, let's actually jump into the automation and see how it works. So first of all, the trigger for this automation would be a webhook for watch matters. Now, for the webhook, you can define actually a few different event types for which that webhook will be triggered, right? So whenever you're adding them over here, you can select, for example, if the matter is created, if it's updated, deleted, opened, etc. And then, very importantly, you also have this expires at field over here. Now, by default, you can only set the webhook to expire as a maximum 31 days into the future. After that, you'll need to re-enable it on the account. Now, worry not, I have created actually a separate video on my YouTube channel, which you can check out, that will show you how you can automatically update those webhooks and make sure that you don't have to do so manually, right? For the purposes of this example, we only need the updated type, as we're going to be updating the stage of the matter, right? And then that will trigger the automation. After you've done that, click Save, and the webhook will be added over here. The next step that we're doing is actually we're just simply getting all of the matter details. Just looking up a particular matter coming from the data that we receive from this webhook in the first step. Now here, the reason that we need to do this is because by default, the webhook doesn't return all of the available data on the matter, such for example, some of the custom field values. So in this case, we need to do a separate step and actually get all of that information before we can proceed. What we'll do after that is we'll retrieve the information that we need to decide whether we actually need to trigger a particular automation for, and what automation we need to trigger, right, for the particular matter. That's specifically the fields for the practice area, for the stage, and then also that automations completed field that I just briefly talked about. How do we do this? So first of all, the practice area is quite easy. We can just get it directly from this second module over here for getting the matter details. As for the stage and automations completed, considering that these are stored as custom fields in Clio Manage, the process for getting the information about them will be a bit more complex. Now, I have already defined the function over here, so you can just pretty much copy it into your automation. Again, you can download the template and just reuse it. But essentially how this works, it looks up the array or the list of the custom field values coming from step 2. It chooses a particular field names that we need, right? So in this case, for example, stage, or in here, automations completed. And then it's getting the value of that particular custom field defined on the matter. Now, in the case, for example, of automations completed, considering that it is a text field, we can directly extract the value option over here. Considering that stage is actually a pick list instead of just a text field, the process for retrieving its value is a bit different. We first need to get the pick list option and then the actual option under it. What you can do with your account, if you have the field names that are a bit different, you can simply copy what I have over here and just update this part over here, the stage, for example, or automations completed, to match the naming that you have under your account. So after this runs, we'll then extract all those fields and, for example, get something like this, where we have the practice area, let's say Wilson Estates, the stage, and then also the value for the automations completed field. Now, importantly, this automation will run on every matter update. So whenever you update any field on the matter, this automation will run. And so that's why as well, it's very important that we enable this automation completed step over there to make sure again that we don't create duplicates. After that, I have defined a router, and essentially what a router will do, it will split the execution into multiple different routes, and for each route we can define specific criteria, specific filters, right? So this allows us quite easily then within the same automation, considering again it will be triggered for every matter update, which means it will consume operations on every single matter update, to define all of the different updates and creation of tasks, etc. that we want on all of the different stages that we have inside of our Clio Manage account in a single make.com scenario. Right, so in this particular case, I have defined this first route to have the filters for the practice area of wills and estates, for the stage being equal to first draft preparation. So I have a few stages over here for, let's say, onboarding, discovery meeting, first draft preparation, and first draft approval. So in this case, it is the first draft preparation. And then after that, making sure that the automations completed field does not contain the first draft preparation, right? What it essentially will do is after all the steps get executed for that particular stage, we'll then update that automations completed field with, again, the name of that stage to ensure that, again, the automation doesn't run twice for the same stage, for the same matter. What I have also done here is I put them inside of single quotes. This then simply helps with the naming, right? Then you really know that, for example, you have very similar stage names, let's say first draft preparation 1 and then first draft preparation 2. You can then actually ensure that you're grabbing all of it and not just part of that stage name. So in the case that the matter fits all of this criteria, again, practice area Wilson Estates, stage first draft preparation, and the automation completed doesn't have this first draft preparation, what we're then going to do is execute a few different actions, right? And that can be any actions inside of Clio Manage or actually any actions inside of any other apps that you are using, such as, let's say, your Gmail, your Outlook, sending of emails, potentially updating your project management software such as Asana, whatever you need. In this case, we are creating 2 tasks, a deadline event in the calendar, and then updating that automations completed field to ensure that, again, the automation doesn't get triggered twice. Let's see the setup of these different actions. Also, it's really less important for this automation, but just so we have an idea. In this case, for example, we are assigning a draft cover letter task for a specific user in our organization that is hard-coded, right? So for myself. We also defining that the due date of that particular task needs to be 3 days into the future from whenever, again, this automation got triggered, so whenever the stage got updated. It is connected to the matter that we have obviously triggered this automation. And then it also has an estimated time of 120 minutes. Now, the field, if you need to use this field, it accepts seconds, right? So in this case, well, that's why I'm multiplying it by 60. 2 hours will then be the value that we actually get inside of Clio Manage. Then I'm creating a separate task called draft summary. In this case, we are assigning it to a user dynamically, right? Based on the responsible attorney that we have on our matter, we are assigning this task to them 5 days into the future, and in this case with no estimated time. We're then also creating a calendar entry. Let's call it, for example, DL for deadline. First draft to be ready for approval, and then the display number of the matter. Being that event being in 7 days from now, right? So imagine we need 7 days for this stage, and we want to ensure then that our employees or our staff members complete that in time. And we are adding it to this calendar called firm. Again, depending on what you have set up on your account, you can choose any calendar that you want, or you can even potentially make it dynamic and, let's say, add it to the calendar of the, let's say, responsible attorney. And then obviously connecting it to the matter ID that triggered this automation. Now, after all of those tasks are completed, we are then updating the actual matter, right, with this matter ID, and we are updating the value of the automation's completed custom field. Now, again, the setup here can be somewhat complicated. What you can simply do is, again, you can just copy this and change the name of the field that you have on your account. But essentially how this works, it just gets the ID of that particular custom field associated to that matter that is called automation completed, and it is updating its value, taken whatever value was already there, for example, for previous automation runs on other stages, right? It's adding a new line and then adding first draft preparation at the end. And so the idea will be, as the matter passes through the stages, all of these different names will be added to it in the new lines, and then you'll also quite easily be able to see which automations were triggered for that particular matter. Okay, now that we have all of the steps set up, let's actually click run once and see how this automation works in practice. I'll go to one of our matters over here, Gonzalez. As you can see, the stage is currently discovery meeting, and also no automations have been completed for this matter. Let's click edit matter, and then I'll update the stage from discovery meeting to now first draft preparation. Let's click save matter, and pretty much immediately this will trigger automation. As you can see, right, we get all of the matter details. The router filter has worked, has executed, because all of those conditions were met, and all of these tasks have been created. If we now refresh our matter screen, the first thing we'll be able to notice is that obviously stage got updated to first draft preparation, as we did, but then also in automation completed, a new line has been added with the first draft preparation over here. Now, if we go to the calendar, we'll be able to see that 7 days from now, the event, an all-day event, has been created for the first draft to be ready for approval. And also, if we go to the tasks, we can see that 3 days from now and 5 days from now, the corresponding tasks have been created. In this case, for example, again, hard-coded to myself, and the second task to the responsible attorney. And also, again, with all the time estimates, descriptions, etc. that we have defined in our automation. Now, in case that we now update this matter again, that automation will not run. Let's, for example, update the matter description. Again, this will be triggered for any updates that you make on the matter, on the actual fields of the matter. And so if we now run this again, let's click use existing data. As you can see, right, in this case, the automation completed contained the first draft preparation, and because of that, the filter for the specific router has not been executed because it didn't match those conditions. We can actually look at it here. Wilson Estates, first draft preparation, but then the automation completed now contains the stage name, and it hasn't been executed. Now, how you can build on top of this automation now is you can obviously add more routes and filters to over here, right? So for example, again, here we have defined just for Wilson Estates and just for the first draft preparation. You can add more things like this over here, and then as well create any tasks, deadline events, send emails, etc., as you see fit for each one of those. Again, my recommendation would be to do all of this inside of this one make scenario to optimize on your operations usage and make sure that you then don't waste operations that are going to happen. So for example, these 3 tasks will get executed all the time for whenever you update a matter in any way. So better have it just in one scenario to not waste your operations. Again, if you would want to implement something like this in your practice, you can grab the free template down below. Just join our legal automation community, and then you can download this template, import it into your make.com account, make a few tweaks that you need, essentially reconnect your accounts and update the field names, and then get going. Otherwise, I hope that you have gotten value out of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and happy automating.